Hello and welcome back to another Demis Hellen tutorial. We're going to take a look at arpeggios today, and we're going to focus on one chord. This chord here, which you can see in the starting two bars, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to develop a melody and the reasons why, and just to find out, if you're not up to scratch on your theory, where to find this information out as well in terms of what notes to use, because that is probably the most common question I get. So here is a section that I've just played, so I'll just play that now. Okay, and we're just going to focus on this first chord. I know it repeats twice here, but we're going to focus on that first one. Now this is a lovely B-flat major scale. Now I know that because I'm actively learning how to play piano, so I'm keeping up to date with my scales, chords, etc. And there is a way that you can find this out without using theory if you haven't got it, and you can use some of Cubase's built-in features and it'll tell you the notes and what it is. You can go and look up videos that cover those topics, or you can use scalesandchords.com, so scales-chords.com, and on here you can type in the notes, and here we are, we have our scale in what we're playing. It tells you the wholes and half tones and the scale structure, and then it tells you the chords that will be applicable, triads that would be applicable, 4-note chords, 5 and 6-note chords, and then equivalent scales all down here, so all relevant information for guitar and piano. So what that looks like there is, if you go to Scales Finder, there you go, just type in the notes and everything else will do the rest. So I've typed in the notes that I play in that first chord, and then the second chord, and the third chord, and once they're in there, find me scale, and it'll give you these options here. And obviously, usually it's your first one up here. So that is the way that you can find that out quickly. And there's also chord tools here as well, chord name, search finder, all that sort of thing. So, okay, so assuming that we know the scale and what notes fit, let's move on to the next section. So this is already an arpeggio, a slow and boring one at that, but it's just a very basic idea to start with. So we're going to up the tempo here just to make it a little bit more relevant. And let's jump in. So we have a chord that is a C, E flat, and a G. And then the C is doubled as the bass. Standard stuff. So if you're wanting to start a melodic sequence, there are a few different ideas in terms of building the arpeggio. Now, the arpeggio can start from the top, can start from the bottom, can start from the middle, and you can have falling rhythms, rising rhythms, falling and rising, random. There's all different ways that you can do it, and there's no wrong or right way. It depends on what you want to create. No rule here, just simply create using what you already know. So we already have this chord, so we're going to delete all of this here. We've already copied it over. As you can see, the original is there. And I'm just going to delete the bass rhythm there, and I'm going to delete these three, and we'll keep these three notes here. Okay, so what we can do is start from a lower point. So if we started from here, we're going to start with a thicker texture because it's lower in the scale, lower in the keyboard. And if we start up here, we're going to have a thinner sound and more defined, a little bit more clarity. And you can mix it up, so you can go and jump across octaves and stuff like that. You can keep within one octave, you can keep really tight within one octave. There's all different ways. So we could just simply do this, which everybody will recognise. Just a simple rising melody. And it would help if I copied that one over there. So let's just do that again. Okay, that is a simple rising, and then again the same for falling, is that same rhythm but falling down. That is the most simplest one that you can come up with, and yeah, that can sound really good, but we want some more complexity in this. How do I know what other notes to put in there and how to make harmonies and things like that? So let's start with using the second note in the scale. So we've got C as our first note, we know D is the second one. You can always refer back to this, but we know D is our second note here, and then E flat is our third note. So we can use D in this scale. So let's have a look at what we can do. So I'm going to delete these. In fact, we'll keep them there for reference. I'll put these at this bar because we're not going to use that section. And I'm going to start from G. So we've got a nice starting point there. Then I'm going to go to the third note. So you can see here now that we've recreated this backwards. Okay. And then we're going to throw in, so we're going to make a nice falling rhythm here, I think. So we're going to throw the D there. So we've now got a little bit of detail in there. So there's a little bit extra harmonization. And you've guessed it, we're going to hit C. So we've created the chord, but we've added the D in there. So it spans across 4 beats in that section. So it doesn't sound like much at the moment. It's just a falling rhythm. Then what we can do is we can then look at the chord. So if we play the chord, which is this first one here, let's just not move that with the mouse. Where are we? There we are. So if we count that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is the 5th note in your triad. 6, 7. So let's add in the 7th because this is the last note before it starts repeating again at C. So let's add in an A. Let's start here. So you can hear it's adding a little bit extra dimension because we've moved away from this chord. Bearing in mind that the same bass line and chord structure will be playing underneath, depending on how you're going to be building your track, whether it's trance. If it's going to be trance, then definitely going to have chords flowing underneath. Then we're going to have a G again. So we're repeating here exactly what we've done here. So we're falling back to this point. Now, the reason that I've left a gap here is just so it's not a continuous fall. There's a bit of a gap, and you'll hear the reason why once I start turning on the delay on this particular preset. I've left it off for a reason. Okay, and then finally, let's end on the note that we had here, which is the D. Okay, and we seem to have a pattern. So let's just have a listen. Let's repeat this, so we've got it over at a whole bar. Okay, so it's sounding a little bit iffy, not liking the fact that this is rising up. So I'm going to simply make an adjustment. Now, this is where arpeggios become your own creation. I'm going to drop that down 1 octave. Keep everything else in the same place. Let's see what that sounds like first. So I'm not liking the fact that that is rising still at this point. It's because there's already a note starting off the line and it just sounds like it's going da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da on these like kind of joining sections. So let's drop that an octave as well. So we've got a falling rhythm and then it rises back up using that second note and then it drops back down. It goes back up to that G. So let's have a listen to that. See, straight away that flows better. There's no bits in it where you think, oh, that doesn't sound right. It's just straight away. And leaving that gap in there just adds that little bit of definition into the arpeggio. It shows that there is something a little bit different happening in your track. So let's put that up an octave. Sounding good. And you can see that's just 1 chord. And all we've done, just to recap, let's put this up an octave as well so it's on the same level. Our chord here is C, E flat and G. And we've just reversed that chord here and thrown in the second note in the scale sequence in between those two. So you get that falling section. Because that half step there just makes all the difference. You can do different things. This is just one example. So that's using the second note. And then it kind of repeats that chord. So you got that C there. And then, so we're using the 7th note. Then we're using the 5th of that chord, which is obviously the last note in the chord if you look reading top to bottom, or bottom to top, shall we say. And then we have the D, which is the second note, which leads back in to the repeating section. So let's have a listen again. So that could be our theme now throughout the track. We can transpose that onto different chords that we use, and that is just simple as, if you're going to use the next chord, which we go from here Okay, so this goes to here. That is the next chord. So we got the G, the B flat, and the D. And again, just do the same thing there. What's the second note? We don't use the second note in this case because of that, but we can use the second note in the chord structure. So the second note in this chord would be A. So you'd replace that D with an A. So let's just do that so I can just demonstrate this to you. Let's transpose this over. Okay, so I've just transposed that up by moving the notes. That is definitely the chord. And these A's have already transposed where these D's were, so that is absolutely fine. And we've got an F, and then we can just make adjustments here because it's not always going to be perfect. So you can hear that it just sounds right straight away. You can change notes. You can change the position of notes. Like we could span these out even further. So let's just take them. Like you could go crazy like that. I'm not saying that's going to sound good. So there's no limit to what you can do here. As long as you're using those notes within the scale, you're always going to sound right. Now, let's have a look at just this section here. So we'll focus on one bar to keep things easy. You can just see it's the same pattern, repeat it twice. Now, how can we make this even better? And this is where everything comes into play. So you can add some bass notes. Let's just start with a rolling bass. The root note is C, so let's just put that in there. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so straight away we're sounding pretty good. Let's just shorten these down. Let's chuck them up an octave. Okay. And then let's put on the grid locking again. We'll copy these over. Now, that is one bass pattern that you can do. And again, stagger your bass pattern a little bit. So usually I say fill the gaps. We've only got one gap in each section there. So we can't do that. But what we can do is we can make something quite interesting in terms of rhythm. So I'm just going to delete some random notes here. Let's try this. Let's have that one there. Let's not have that one on there. Okay, so that's another rhythm that we could have there. And then we can even fill the gaps now. So we can drag the gaps down here. This is where creativity starts defining your own style. So you start getting this more complex pattern. So you can see now that we're building even more notes into this sequence. And then what's to say that you can't use these notes elsewhere? So if we go, for some reason our velocities are quieter here. So let's just turn everything up. So now we could actually add this D here that is kind of floating around up here. We could add these ones down here. So then the bass kind of extends out of the C just slightly. And obviously we'll have to change that there. So you can hear that suddenly we get a little bit more definition in there. Now we can get rid of that there. You can see that there's a little bit more definition. I'm just going to undo that so they're there. And let's have a look where that's. So let's try there. So you get that little bit more definition there. We could add that there. Too low. Or even lower. See, this is just where the creativity comes in. Some of these sound really good, some don't. I'm preferring there. See, that sounds pretty good. Let's just try that there. For me, that would be too obvious because they're on the snares, but you can see that that fits quite well. So let's put them back. So the possibilities are endless. Now, arpeggios can be complex, or they can be very simple. and this is where rhythm comes in. So let's just start by going into the plugin and turning on the delay. So this is a preset from the Trance XT pack. Straight away, this arpeggio comes to life, sounds immaculate, and tons more ideas start flowing through my mind about how you can program this. Okay, so I've just added a little bit more power into this sound so we can get a little bit more definition. So what can we do as a third option? Now we've got all this delay, we've got all these patterns now, you can choose different delay times to create different patterns. Again, all depending on what you're making, but let's just pick a random rhythm here. We've got plenty of stuff going on in the background. So this particular preset uses delay and it's actually high passing it, as you can hear. So it's kind of disappearing on a high pass. Whereas if you don't have the high pass on there and just keep it all at the same level as the notes that initially play, it'll sound like there's more notes playing and it'll sound more convincing. Let's take a look at doing something simpler using this rhythm. So let's just take this. Okay, and let's get rid of that. Let's move that to there. And do that. Now that sounds a bit worse than what it did before. Let's have a bit of a rise, I think, here. Just see what that sounds like. Let's have the rise there, and we're going to offset this. And let's just have a listen to that first. Okay, so we don't want this pattern to repeat because it sounds a little bit iffy, repeating the same phrase. Okay, so it's not the strongest pattern, so let's just have a listen to what we can do with this. Let's just put a rolling bass in here. Straight away it starts to gel together. It doesn't sound too great on its own, but as soon as you put a kick drum in there, it's going to sound beautiful. I don't think I've got a kick drum in here, or have we? Yeah, it's not a trance kick, but let's put it in anyway. Let's just so you can hear the pace. Yeah. Okay, and I don't think I have quantize on there, so let's just do that. So this sounds a bit iffy here. That sounds better. Let's put that down an octave, give it a bit more power. Okay, so you can hear that the delay is adding more to the sound, and let's just take the delay away. No, we don't want to load Groove Agent. And we'll just take the delay away. It's still got that lovely pace, so you could add another layer of like leads on top that are a bit drier to emphasize that. We could keep the bass in the same place and just drop that. See, that's got some more class now. Okay, so that's just a rolling bass. Let's copy this over and we'll finish by building a little sequence. But let's just change up the bass here. So let's get rid, in fact we'll get rid of the lower notes first. And we're just going to fill in the gaps. So delete the ones that are on notes. Maybe this section here is going to have something in. We'll have a listen to that in a second. Okay, get rid of that. See, that sounds pretty good. It gives that little bit of a break in there, and in the sections of the bass that you build, like some of the mid basses will sound really good just in those kind of gaps. Let's make it more interesting. So now you've got that nice kind of rolling feel, all enhancing the arp. And these are just really simple ideas. And then just go across octaves if you want to fill the gaps in. So you've done it with the bass, let's do it with the melody. So with the arp, shall we say. Let's have a G up there. Let's move that D to there. There's no gaps there. Put that in a gap. Put that in a gap. Put that in a gap, and that. Let's just see what that sounds like. And we could just have that fall to an F. See, that just gives it that nice little round. It sounds a bit dodgy just sat on that note of D there. Keeps a bit more monotony, but this kind of keeps it sounding like a loop, and it's progressed around its full cycle and it sounds like it should join back. And there we have it. So that is as simple as it gets. I can't explain an arpeggio any easier than that. So these are the ideas. Feel free to pause the video at these points and take these ideas. But we're going to take these ones here. Okay. Copy them across. And I'm simply going to keep the bass notes moving and not the melody. So you can hear straight away we've got a really good start to some sort of progressive track there. We could repeat that section, or we can have it continue. You could have these a bit higher, depending on what we're going to create. Just move that to there, so that would be that section. So you can hear exactly what I'm just doing there, and I'm building chords. So if you look here, the A and the G, that is just the second chord in the sequence that we had from the original melody. G, A, and then there'd be a C in there. Technically it's a D, but I move this down to a C. So we have G, A, and F, but we have the C there, as you can see. Just get rid of that F sharp there. So there's so many things that you can do there. I'm not going to make this whole thing, because it'll take a lot of time up just getting everything sounding lovely. So there you have it. That is arpeggios, and building them is designed for trance, but yeah, you can use these in all styles of music. There's nothing stopping you. Right down to guitarists arpeggiate. That's kind of their thing. Right down to even orchestral instruments and things like that. So yeah, as long as you're within the range of the instruments, everything's going to be good. Trance, a little bit faster, a little bit more complex, loads of delay, loads of reverb, always sounds really good. So there you have it. That is a ARP sequence. Feel free to pause the video and grab those arpeggiated ideas just there. Let's see if we can get that bass in there for you. So that top note is a G. There we are. So that is the entire thing there. If you want to copy it and take these ideas, go for it and transpose it into your own chords. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments down below and drop a like. And finally, hit subscribe. 3 videos a week on varying topics about music production. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.